I'm delighted to be here today, opening or sort of being the moderator for this phenomenal panel. I'm going to take a little bit of time to introduce you to the panelists, because I think it's really worth spending some time just taking in who our guests are here today. So, at the end of the table, we have Sophie Ash. Over the course of your decades-long career, you have launched festivals and startups, the inaugural Made in America Festival and United Masters. You've project managed multi-platinum, Peabody and Grammy-winning albums, such as Nipsey Hussle's Victory Lap, Beyoncé's Lemonade, and Steve Lacy's Gemini Rights. You've managed clients such as Mike and Keys and Chloe and Halle, toured the Formation World Tour, Steve Taut's Tanning of America book tour, and supported legendary executive businesses and brands such as Steve Stout, Kevin Liles, Russell Simons, and Maverick Carter. And started your own business, all without ever working within the walls of a major label. You have been recognized by Billboard magazine as one of 5 young music power players to watch in their 40 Under 40s issue, as an official 40 Under 40s recipient, and you have also been featured in Forbes 30 Under 30s list in the music category. Sophie currently lives in LA, where she's partners with Mike and Keys and founder of her own project management and marketing consultancy, 90s Money. Thank you, Sophie, for coming all the way from LA. And we have Mike and Keys, our artist and producer duo. And when discussing the contemporary sound of Los Angeles, one would be remiss to omit production duo Mike and Keys, formerly the Futuristics, known for creating luxurious tapestries of brilliantly composed, surgically precise sonic poetry. It is clear that the duo's proprietary potion can only be achieved by their undeniable chemistry. Inspired equally by the synthy G-funk bounce of West Coast icons Dr. Dre and mentor DJ Quick, and the hypnotic, sample-centric production of High-Tech and Jay Dilla. Mike and Keys' perfect balance of new and nostalgia reaches far beyond the confines of California. The Mike and Keys sound is appropriately described by critics as masterful, and the legendary Redman as 1990 now. The 6-time Grammy-nominated multi-platinum selling Mike and Keys are widely known for executive producing Nipsey Hussle's Grammy-nominated masterpiece, Victory Lap, as well as music with artists including Jay-Z, Dr. Dre, Eminem, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, Dom Kennedy, Dave East, and Buddy, amongst many others. Wow. And they're all here from LA just to be with us today. So thank you so much for making it and for keeping awake.
Yes, yes.
So as you know, today's conversation is about keeping the flow in both general, personal, and professional sort of the personal and the professional sphere. And so really, I wanted to open up the conversation with really the question about what's flow, what being in the flow means to you, what being in the zone means to you for each, like personally, of course, but also in each of your roles, and what inspires you to be in the flow. So,
Mike, you want to take it first?
Yeah, the flow to me means like consistency, and the number one thing we've been talking about is energy. Mm-hmm. So your energy is going to dictate the creativity and the flow of everything you do, especially in music. Like, if you don't have good intentions, it's not going to happen the way you want it. So you got to go in with good intentions and think about just creativity with the flow. Okay. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, the flow is like basically the love for it. Like if you have a certain love for what you're doing, it just naturally comes organically. And like he was saying, the energy, when you continue to do something for a numerous amount of times, like repetition, like you got to keep going forward at what you love to do, and you'll end up achieving that goal that you want to do. So that's a good flow for sure.
Yeah.
I think flow for me is just like an intense state of focus by something that you're really inspired by. Like I could be locked behind my computer for hours and just focused on what I'm doing because I know that the end product is going to be worth the attention, and it doesn't feel like that. I could step away hours later, be done, and still feel like I still have ideas, I'm still excited about it. So flow to me is just inspiration that keeps me locked in to results, to generate results.
And really, I mean, each of us get on our flows differently. I guess it takes, it might take longer, it might take, I don't know, you might get into it right away depending on, I don't know, whether the people you're with or the music that you're doing. And so my next question really is how do you complement each other in terms of your different working styles? Because the three of you work super closely, so.
I think, being on a team, everybody has to play their role. And we spend a lot of time together. We are in a group chat, and we talk about everything we're gonna do before we do it. So I think the number one part of it is communication. We all communicate with each other every day, and we're kind of all on the same page. And nobody is in each other's way because we all do something different.
Like knowing really your place, I mean.
I'm the one, like Sophie's is she's gonna do everything correctly, make sure we're on time. I'm kind of more like, let's do what we feel. You know what I'm saying? But it works.
It complements each other.
It complements us.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I agree with everything he was saying. When it comes to like having a team, you definitely need that in the music industry because you got to surround yourself with people that believe in you. And like when we did Nipsey's album, that's an artist that really believed in us, and vice versa. We believed in him as well. So you need that. You need that that spark, that someone to believe in you. To make your dreams come true. You know what I mean? That support factor is very important.
Absolutely.
I think also like we also have boundaries that work too. Like I'm not a creative person, and they are just so amazingly creative and so deeply educated in music in a way that I just give the respect to them to own all of that because I don't do it. But we also have boundaries where like we don't talk about business in the studio. When we're in the vibe, like we don't talk about it. I have to like, if it's really urgent, I gotta be like, guys, I have a single question. That's all I can do. I can't sit down and have a meeting. It cannot happen in the studio. That has to be a
She'll
sacred
tell you
space.
out. She gets kicked out a lot.
I do. I do. I try to push the line, but it's a rule of ours. Like, and we have to leave the room to speak business.
And it's not, I don't take it bad. It's just, I feel like when we're creating and business are two different things. And you don't want to mix those two. They're literally like water and oil. So for us, it's let's focus on what got us here. That's the creativity, the music part. And then usually the business works out, you know what I'm saying, if we come in with the good energy. So kind of leave it at that.
You almost have to be in a different frame of mind. I mean, if you're sort of like in it and suddenly there's a question about, I don't know, something really practical or you kind of maybe lose your flow, I guess. So it's really, really important to keep it separate. It's just the same. I mean, you need the business part to keep the structure, but at the same time, there are sacred moments, I guess. And creating and producing is a sacred moment, I suppose.
And sometimes I have to close my laptop and just be in the vibe and the music because I'm fatigued on logistics and details, and I just want to be in the music. So I close my laptop and I sit in the studio, and I'm like, okay, now I can really get immersed in what the sound and the feeling is.
At the end of the day, also, as a manager, you need that. You need to, I guess, connect with the music on that level as well, to believe in it, as you were saying, to be able to push for your artists. And so I think that's a great way of, I think those are, I was going to ask about the anchors. I mean, what keeps you sort of grounded or committed or, intentional about the work? And I think it's just leaving out all of the noise that is necessary, but it's noise at the end of the day to really feel what you're playing and what you're producing, I think is massive. So I'm going to take it into the personal a little bit. I mean, because you work very closely together. You have this chemistry. How do you keep, I mean, not only in the studio and in the business, but how do you keep boundaries so that you're able to have your own personal lives, I guess, as well, because I mean, music is so intense, no? I suppose, and it bridges the personal and the professional. Is, you know, music is your life, I suppose, and so how do you keep it in a way that you can still keep a healthy lifestyle in a way, and healthy relationships, and when you're touring, if you do tour, or you're, well, you, of course you do tour, you tour massively, but you know, so how do you keep, I guess, yeah.
I'm not good at it. I'm getting better at it, but I have a very, like Mike tells me, like, go get some rest, like go to sleep, like, so I'm the type of person, but I've been like this since I was younger. Like I'm always like, I'm a team no sleep. I don't, you know, like, don't listen to me in that respect, but like, and none of us sleep, like really, so.
Yeah.
But creating those boundaries where like on Saturdays a lot of the time and Sundays is like when I try to like, I always go to the beach on Sundays. I walk the boardwalk, I watch some basketball, go home. Like that's just one thing that I have to do every week, so for myself, to just clear my mind and like make sure on Monday I'm in a good headspace.
I think too, since we're creators, I think we get inspiration from the outside world. So I think that being in the studio sometimes would be too much. Like you got to get
out
inspiration from
somewhere else.
Like she said, going to the beach, like,
or
like
being here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
being
exactly.
insane.
Like here has inspired me in a whole nother way,
Yeah.
because I'm seeing things that I don't see every day in California. So now I can go back creating with the new energy of inspiration that I'm seeing people. I love being somewhere where I can't really conversate, you know what I'm saying? And I'm learning as I go. So that to me is cooler than like doing the same thing repetitive over and over.
Yeah, you need to break. I mean, you need to rest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'll give you, I mean, I oversee health here
Yeah.
for our students, and I think this, you know, this idea of like, I don't know, to keep sustainable careers, you at some point you need to switch off and like, you know, just clear your head and your mind and your body to be able to, when you come back on a Monday or whenever, you're fully charged and you feel like wholesome, no? Otherwise you're kind of like just running on empty.
Yeah, it's not going to be 100%.
Yeah.
No, I know.
And I'm loudly and proudly in therapy too, like weekly. I don't miss therapy. Like I won't miss therapy. If I miss it one day, I'm going to reschedule. Like I have to do it. Like it's something that's really important to stay right.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing
sure.
that. I think, you know, we do, I mean, we believe in that. I'm in therapy too.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I love it.
I have been. I'm not now, but I have been, and I think it's essential. So that really drives into the next question of like, what are your anchors? What are the things that keep you grounded when things get really intense, you know?
For me, it's them. Like I just feel, I just have so much belief in them and us that it really never feels like work. So it just knowing that everything we talk about and that we have talked about like maybe 3 months ago is always coming true, as big as the dream that we've put out there. It's just like feeling supported by the universe or God, whatever energy, whatever it is. It's just, it allows me to feel like we're on the right path. So it keeps me grounded in knowing that we're doing the right thing because we're following our heart and we're all students of a very specific school of thought that allows us to bring our energy around the world and affect people and they affect us. And so I just feel like this is a real kind of like divine partnership that took, you know, a life cycle to get here. Like it happened in a very organic, special way. So it's like, I'm grounded by them and their dreams and our dreams together, really, honestly.
Can I just yeah. What about you guys? What's your anchors?
I definitely think that what gives us strength is God. Because without him, we wouldn't even have our talents. And I feel like he brought us together for a reason, you know, having Sophie manage us. And because I always say, like, creators are some of the most unorganized people. So we definitely need someone like Sophie to manage everything. And the stars just have to align, too.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
We actually met her through Nipsey, you know, so I think, it's a great thing.
Yeah, I think it, we all balance each other out. You know, Keys is the quiet, we call him the quiet assassin. Sophie's the let's get it done now or never. And I'm more of the radical person. I'm like, if I feel like it's right, we're doing it today. You know? And I think that together, us as a team, it blends. So we work so good together, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That like we travel together, we do everything together. So we're a family. So it's easy. I always tell people, especially working in music, the best music is going to come from people that you actually like.
Yes, I heard that
So
in an interview.
I see a lot of people just working with people because of money, or you know, the intentions are not right. But I think for us, our intentions are to just be better people in the business that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to add, I mean, cause the work that you do is very intense, and so if you don't have that trust and that sort of relationship, I understand, and this is not in the script, that I understand at times you might not agree in certain things. So if you don't have the ability and the trust and the love for each other to really say, actually, I don't think we should go down this road. I think we should do this other thing, and it can create sort of friction. And so if you don't, and it's important that the foundations of your relationship is so strong that you feel free enough to say, actually, I don't believe in that. I don't know.
And it's not personal.
And
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's not, because I think with us, like
Yes.
we talk about things we want to do and we don't want to do, and then we just kind of do it as a group and see if everybody agrees with it. That's what a team does. So
There's not ego in our circle. Like, it's just, it doesn't help.
Yeah.
It doesn't help anything. It doesn't do anything productive to have an ego in the room. It's different to have ego, and it's different to command respect. It's two different things. So, you know, we command respect, but we don't have ego.
yeah.
Let's just pause on that.
Yeah.
Because I think that's you nailed it. Yeah. So I mean, you are iconic artists, and you've also worked with iconic artists you've mentioned. And so, how do you, or how have you, or how do you maintain the flow in your studio sessions? I mean, depending on your artist.
We've been doing it so long, it's like repetition at this point. You know, every artist is different.
Yeah.
So, for me, I'm more of they'll tell you, like, I deal with the artist hands-on. So I be having to do all trickery, tricking them to, because artists, they like things a certain way. So for us, we don't come in with no ego. We just try to make it work for them. So sometimes you got to do some things you don't like to get them to work. You know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of people think, like, you just go in the studio with artists and make music. That's not how it goes. Usually we might go get some food. How's your day? Do you have a family?
Yeah.
Like, we start with the basics, and then we go from there. And then we kind of gauge on how the vibe or the rhythm is going to go. But it's usually, the majority of the time, our energy is so good that if the artists ain't in our energy, then they're wrong. Yeah.
And what about when you are the music makers? What about you managing your own flow when you're in the studio? I mean,
Managing our own flow.
yeah, or if somebody else is producing you, and you're in the other side of the sort of.
I mean, we like to be produced, and I love people's opinion. I don't take. I feel like when someone's giving their opinion, they care about you winning. So we don't take that personal, and we just.
Yeah, we take constructive criticism pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
That's great. And what about you, Sophie? Like, what about managing the flow of your clients when, you know, in this intense periods of touring?
I feel like over the years, the flow of my clients, it becomes sort of like you have to know them. Like, I've worked with a lot of crazy people. I've worked with highly artistic people. I've worked with people who are unreasonable. It's just knowing. It's sort of forecasting their behaviors and their actions, and when I get to know them, I can support their personalities better. often it's been at the expense of myself. So those are boundaries I've had to create, 20 years into my career type thing. But I won't allow myself to work with people where I'm more concerned about their energy and that isn't reciprocated from them. It's not worth the effort because I'm not part of the plan in that respect. So we really respect each other's flow. With other clients, I think I'll always work in service to clients. I'm not a focal person. They always make fun of me because I wear black all the time, like Dr. Dre. Like I'm in the shadows for a reason. It's not about me. But I also have my own flow that I have to take care of. And I didn't really learn that until about 5 years ago.
Everything you're saying resonates so much, Sophie. Like I wish we had 4 hours to talk about some of the things.
I'll be back, guys.
I cannot like you're giving, like, there's so much underneath of what you're saying that I think is massive. So
thank you.
With a little bit of that, I mean, what challenges? I mean, if you want to go into detail, 100%. But what challenges have you encountered in your career, and how have you navigated or managed those challenges to keep yourself afloat, I guess?
Well, I think with music, music changes, and sometimes you want to change with the music, so that kind of clouds your creativity. I think that's been one of the challenges for us as music producers and creators, is trying not to sound like everybody else. Try to come up with our own sound. And it took us like 10 years to do that, actually. So I think that's a challenge in itself, is coming up with your own sound and not trying to sound like everybody else.
Yeah.
I think the biggest challenge is consistency. Like being able to consistently do it. One of our mentors is Dr. Dre. He's been doing it since 1987. Yeah. At a high level, and he's a billionaire, and he works like he has $5 in his pocket. So that's our inspiration. Like, how do you stay consistent like that and love it so much to where you don't care about the money, nothing, and the music? So that's what we strive to be. That is basically consistency. Yeah.
As far as challenges go, because I'm not making music, for me, I think I've had to overcome, I've had to keep working in spite of a lot of heartache and grief, and that's really tough. And sometimes in those situations, it's hard to find the inspiration. So you go looking for it, and it's not always the easiest to find, but I find with like patience and the process of healing, the energy brings what needs to be in your ecosystem and orbit to you. There's a lot of patience you have to have with yourself. You can't really run away from things that you have to like go through. They say you go through it or you grow through it,
I mean, yeah. I mean,
I don't know where it's coming from, y'all. I don't know.
Yeah, but, I mean, you're a human being. Things happen to you, and you can't always be on top form, and that, essentially that's going to affect the music you create, how you produce, how you manage, because we're not
robots.
Yeah,
and that's really the key. Is when you're dealing with these artists, I think people forget that they are human too. Yeah. And they're regular people, and they have problems, and they're stressed, and maybe they had a bad day. That's why I don't always try to go straight into the music. Maybe you want to know what's going on in your day. How you doing today? You okay? Yeah. Like, you don't feel, you know what I'm saying? And then they'll open up. But if you don't do that and then try to work, and then nothing happens with the music, it's because you didn't communicate. And you just try to go straight to the music instead of seeing, like the human part is very important dealing with artists, especially with us. Like Nipsey was the hardest person to work with, and we had a studio with him, and we had to just kind of like understand who he was as a person, why he's not recording today, why is he not like this. And I started figuring out, like, he went through stages of like, I'm just gonna be like this for 3 months, and then I'll come back. And so we had to learn how to deal with that. But when he was motivated, he was all the way motivated. So it's like we had to learn that people are human, and sometimes you gotta let people be who they are first before you jump into just recording.
Yeah, I mean, I think music as well. I mean, it's really, I mean, music is coming out of you as a human being. It's not, you know, creating a bottle. Do you know what I mean? So you have to be connected with your own emotions. And if you are in a place in your mind where you're not feeling 100%, creating that environment to allow for the artist to feel like, just for you know, maybe the music that comes out is even more authentic, which is something that you also always talk about, the authenticity of the music. So and I mean, you've been in the business for decades. I wonder whether your how you take care of yourself has shifted a little bit since you started to where you are today, considering everything that you've also had to, you know, go through, and sort of the grief and all of these different emotions of, you know, the last few years as well. I mean, how do you practice self-care at the moment?
I have 2 daughters, and they're kind of my motivation. And, you know, kids teach you a lot. Yeah. So that keeps me motivated, and they support their dad on the mission. So that keeps me going.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I think just being around just talented people, like inspirations, just musicians, and that's always an inspiring thing when you run into people that are super talented. And you know, you listen to different types of music, and that inspires you as well. And I'll go back to saying, like, your teammates, like with Mike and Sophie, they're inspiring too. So that for sure keeps me motivated.
I think, would you mind repeating the question?
Yeah, no, just what do you do to take care of yourself, like the self-care piece? I mean, how has it changed since you started?
I definitely get 2-hour massages instead of 1-hour massages now. Like, that's definitely one of them. It's a constant engagement with boundaries. Like, I have a real problem with my phone. Like, I used to separate it, business and personal, to establish boundaries, but I can't do it anymore. So I have to, like, put my phone across the room for an hour at a time, and it's still hard. Yeah. Because it's like, I'm the type of person where I can't go to sleep with any notifications. Yeah. I don't have any notifications on my Gmail. It is empty. Like, it's 0 every night. Like, I went through all 16,000 notifications. Wow. Like, I'm a maniac like that. But I like to know that the boxes are checked, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. That's kind of insane, but it's not, like, that's how once I've gotten to that 0, it's put it a level for like, but I think
never delete my messages.
But I think another thing for self-care is I journal a lot. Like, I got to figure out things, because I often put everything that's going on in my head in the back to deal with later. Yeah. I'm the type of person, and I hate this analogy, and everybody tells me different. You know, when you're on the plane and they tell you to put the mask on yourself before other people, I'm not that person. I'm making sure the people next to me have their mask on, and whatever happens, happens. Everybody tells me I have to do differently. It's very hard for me to revert to that mentality.
I always tell her that.
Yeah. And it's something like when I used to be out with Maverick Carter, he would say it every time we would go, you got to put your mask on first. And it still doesn't click for me, because I'm an empathetic person. I care about the people around me. And to me, that'll always come first. So it's a constant understanding, and like, you got to kind of put yourself there too. So it's a struggle for me, honestly. Yeah. Like, no, I mean, struggle. I get it, because I'm also an empath, and I feel it's like sometimes it can be a little draining, because you're like 100%.
You end up like,
yeah, 100%. Because I mean, I don't have kids, but I have a family, and I'm you know, I want them to always be good and safe and stable. And I'm also the oldest daughter, so if anybody's the oldest daughter or oldest son, they know what that means. So, you know, but it's something, luckily I have, you know, Mike and Keys are often supporting me in doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Go home. Like, you know what I mean? So, and for them to care about my well-being as well, it's not a very typical dynamic to have in business.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really feel like business.
Like if she doesn't show up to the studio one day, she'd be like, trying to make excuses. I'm like, just chill. Yeah. It's okay. Like, you know, we're human. So
Yeah.
I understand that part. But it's funny because I'm the totally opposite. I'm like, I don't care. I'm going hard until I pass out.
Yeah.
So, but like I said, I tell her that because I see how hard she works, and I want her to get the best out of herself. And sometimes you over exalt your energy to do so good that you lose energy because you don't have no energy. So I think that's, you know, that's whenever I hit her, I'll be like, just relax today.
Yeah.
It's okay. Like no one's tripping. We got it today.
Yeah, which is so strange for me. 20 years in the game, like for that. So it's like, it's a very, like, they want me to be better. Yeah. You know, in every way. And the point where I'm like fighting it. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, I never want to be in pictures and cameras. I tell our creative director, get me out of it. Mike was like, get over that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a process. So I just feel like when you're, ascending to a certain point in life and your career, and the people around you want the best out of you, it's because we're preparing each other for something we haven't seen before. Yeah. As far as like a level of success, a level of ascension, a next level in every chapter of our life. So it's like sometimes we have to like we were on the phone yesterday and it's like, whoa, this is all coming from everywhere as far as like things we put out into the atmosphere, magnetic attractions to the supporting of our story, their story, the music. It's energy attracts energy.
Yeah, energy never lies.
Yeah, I mean, we're going back to the very beginning, you know, what inspires you is, and you know, what keeps you in the flow, and is that, you know, energy. But it sounds like you basically just have each other's back.
Always.
100%.
Well, it's a team. If anybody that follows sports, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, anything, if you want to win, your team wins, not one person. So if we want to win, we got to work as a team. Yeah, yeah.
And with sports, like one thing that Mike and Keys have taught me, and it's very hard for me, but it's been so helpful to me, and I don't even know if you guys know, is like Mike has mentioned, they talk about basketball a lot, how when you're playing basketball and you fuck up a play, you keep playing. You can't keep stuck on the play because you got to get to the basket. And everybody's not going to be mad at you. You got to get to the next play. And I'm the type of person where I typically am like,
you're thinking about the last play.
Like I will stand in the middle of the court and be like, fuck, excuse my language. But it's like, but it's helped me, like now I can sit in a mistake or a fumble and I'll be like, all right, it's fine. And I think about that. Yeah. And I'm able to like leave some of the, being hard on myself and beating myself up behind, because I'm like, all right, we got to just get to the championship.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've opened up to the last question that I had before I open it up to everyone, and is what would be your advice for people that are starting out as artists, as producers, as managers, in terms of, you know, knowing, I mean, or understanding what it is that makes them, because as we were saying earlier, not like everyone's flow is different and everyone gets into the flow differently. So understanding that and maintaining that in order to have a sustaining, like a long career in music. I mean, what would be your advice for young people?
The number one thing I would say is you cannot have no ego. You have to be very, very open. And I would tell anybody to be a service to someone before trying to always try to help somebody before you're trying to get to where you're trying to go. So our whole theory is we service. How can we help you? You know what I'm saying? A lot of people come in and take. We don't do that. We come in and try to, how can we service and help you? And that usually works out in our favor.
Yeah, I think, like you said, you know, being a service to people, and like just knowing your role in the situation. Like if you're in the studio and you do music and all that, they might not need you for the music at that time. They might need you to clean up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you got to be willing to do things like that. That the things that you don't want to do, you got to be willing to do it.
Just be humble as well, no? I guess.
Yeah,
in a way.
but
yeah.
people see that and recognize that, and they'll want to work with you because of that. That's good energy right there, because you're not being selfish.
And that's why you will see an executive who was an intern. You know what I'm saying? That means he put his ego to the side to get to that level, and that still works. That always works.
I would say it's not that serious. Things that are serious. What you want to leave behind in the world is serious. Why you do it is serious. The people you do it with is serious. Everything else isn't. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people can come to that perspective after loss, a big one. So I just would hope, in speaking to others, that they don't have to go through that necessarily to understand that. We're all going to deal with loss, in the different capacities, but if you go into this game understanding what really matters, you don't have to waste all this time on things that don't. You know?
Yeah. I do want to open up to the floor if there are any questions from anyone. Yes. I don't know if we need a mic. We do not.
Hi, thank you for coming in for this lovely talk. I'm Jay and I'm from India. I just wanted to ask you, like, before, you know, your fans, people who you work with, collaborators, other artists, your clients, everybody comes with a certain level of expectations whenever we hear about your music. How do you guys constantly deal with the level of expectations that your fans have, or somebody collaborating with you have, and how do you kind of, you know, manage those things and move around so that you know that your art is actually good and you believe in that? Like, yeah.
I think you just gotta believe in yourself first. Like, don't worry about the expectation. Just continue to just do you, because you do music, so that's a human emotion. So you have to first believe in yourself, and when people see that, they'll recognize that, and it'll show through the music. So I feel like you have to believe in yourself first, and not worry about the expectation.
Yeah, because the expectations, that's a mental thing. Yeah. And that can mess up your creativity. And we've been, like, early in our career, we went through that of trying to make people happy and thinking they like this, and boy, was we wrong. So once we start doing things organically, like, I never looked at an expectation on us, because I feel like I don't want nobody to put their expectations on us, you know?
I feel like sometimes I put expectations, especially on the business side, on others, because I have an expectation for myself based on the people I've worked with. Like, it's a different thing working for Beyonce. It's different. So my expectation for myself is very elevated. So I work in a different way. So sometimes I have to have give people a little bit of grace, because it's a very different pace and a very different demand that exists only in certain artist camps and certain projects and things of that nature. So I have to understand everybody's expectations within the camp first, so that I can support them in the best way. Because I just really want to support what the end goal is anyway. So it's not about me. So I think you just have to have, the only expectation you have is that you're going to do the best job to get it done on yourself.
That's a great question, though. Yes. Oh, sorry. No, you go, and then.
All right, sure.
No, you can go.
All right. Okay. So Sam here from Paris/London. I'm very curious. How do you decide or sort of manage the question of who to collaborate with, and if any, how do these collaborations shape your future creativity and how you produce your art, your music?
Well, that's a great question. We just went to Paris and London in January to upgrade our creativity, and working with artists that, you know, necessarily can't even speak to us in English, and that's kind of been keeping us in shape, because music is worldwide. So if we're not working with pretty much we should be working with everybody all over the world, and that kind of keeps us.
Yeah, that's why we're here, because United States is just one part of the world. So we want to expand our musicality, and hip hop is everywhere. So we want to be a part of all of it.
Yeah.
We learn so much every time we go to a new city or country. So we've been like really intentionally international so that we can understand the different markets, the different audiences, what inspires people, the artists there.
The rhythms.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother creative process. Like one of our mentors, Battlecat, he's a big producer in LA. Before we got here, he was like, make sure you guys go to the record shop and things, basically like stuff that we don't have in America, that we don't have access to, that to keep our creativity going.
Yeah, and Steve Stout once told me, find comfort in discomfort. And we're not comfortable in a country we can't speak the language, we don't know the customs, almost getting hit by the roundabouts, so for us to kind of like adapt to, it keeps us on it's just staying in shape, and it's it's a challenge, but it's a fun one. Like these are stories that we'll have forever, and memories we'll have forever, and relationships we'll have forever. So
thank you. I think we have one more question. Kaya?
Thank you all for being here. So we got a really great picture of how you all are as professionals, how you integrate within the work relationships that you have together. It sounds a lot from what you're saying that you're also very embedded in your communities. I know that Nipsey Hussle was really the definition of a community artist, in the sense that he had a movement behind him, and he wasn't just a commercial artist. I'm a New Yorker and a huge hip hop head. When I was growing up, we were listening to Immortal Technique and Mos Def and all these artists. So my curiosity here is from a musical content perspective, from the perspective of keeping hip hop going. It sounds like all of you have this kind of advocacy aspect, but in the work. How do you push your artists in a world of music that is increasingly getting more commercial, that are more hip hop, that are more ground level, that are representative of the community that perhaps the world doesn't understand yet?
That's a great question.
Great one. I had to think of
it. Yeah. I would start with, like I said before, it starts with yourself. I think, when we work with artists, we don't try to play them what's hot. That's why we try to get to know them first, because you have to create something that's within you. And it starts with that. And if you believe in it, if the artist believes in it, everybody else is going to believe in it.
And it's because when we were doing Nipsey's album, he was on a major label, and everybody was telling him, you got to make singles, you got to do this, and you got to do that. And we started to do that, and it didn't feel right. Yeah. So we reverted back to what we love, and we went 22 times platinum from one album, from doing what we love versus, trust me, we tried to do what everybody said just to see if it was going to work, and in our heart, it didn't feel right. When it's like music is a feeling. If it feels right, it's probably right. If it feels wrong, it's probably wrong. So that's kind of how we try to keep it as human as possible with music, because, with the internet, and there's so much things that can confuse you, that you just got to stay grounded to what is 100% true to you. And we love hip hop, so we're never getting away from that, even if we wanted to.
I would say from a business and entrepreneurial standpoint, I align with artists that I believe in. I met Nip when I was 18 or 19 years old, and everything he said he wanted to do, he did it. I shared that vision with him since I met him, and I believed in it from the very beginning. I heard a record he did called Questions, and it instantly touched my soul. And it was I think it was 1 minute and 54 seconds long, maybe even less. And that was my North Star, and remains to be my North Star, just liberating communities that should be liberated because they built the country that we live in. And I feel like I don't work on projects I don't believe in. I've been asked to do a lot of projects that could have made me a lot of money, given me a lot of opportunity, but I don't believe in what the artist is. I don't believe the artist believes in it. I believe the artist believes in profit. I don't have any interest in that. I don't have a lot of plaques. It's not about that. I'm not impressed by that. I think it's about what do you want to leave on the world? Like, especially looking like me and working in hip hop, I have a role to play. I have to infiltrate rooms where people look like me and don't understand the music that they're making money off of. And they think they're doing the right thing because profitability is first. I don't believe in that. So I will go in those rooms, I will report back to the homies, and I will burn them down. I've done it many times. And I think for me, it's when I'm with artists that are also short-sighted on what the opportunities are, because with streaming and 100,000 records coming out every day, it's very discouraging. It's a very, like, you can burn out. There's only every Friday comes every Friday, and you better hope that Beyonce or Drake isn't releasing a surprise record, because nobody's gonna care. So at the end, and even with all the press that you spend your publicist, it doesn't matter. It's totally unpredictable. I also tell artists, and I learned this in working in sports for a year too, you have to have off the court businesses. Your primary revenue driver, not to use like business, but if your primary revenue driver is music, what about the music means something more to you outside of the mic and the booth? How do you develop opportunity that aligns with those things that you speak about, so you can create opportunity for your family and your community and keep it going generationally? I think one of the most amazing things happening in music is that 50 Cent did that studio in Shreveport. That is real work. That is impressive. That is what matters. That's God's work. And if we're not motivated by that as executives and talent, what are we here for? It is not, like, I'm totally unimpressed by conversations about my jet is bigger than yours. We are appalled by, maybe, I'm not speaking on Spain, you're from New York, I'm from New York. We are appalled by everything in America except immense displays of wealth. And I don't care about that stuff. I've been very broke many times. I will not sacrifice what I stand for profit. And I will die and stand on that. And if you're in this industry and you're in hip hop, you gotta know how important it is, especially looking like me. I will never be in a room where people look like me. I don't wanna work there. I don't. And I'm loud about it, because I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. This isn't about me. It's about using the privilege that I have, the looks that I have, to make sure that forever the billionaires around us are not the billionaires we've seen and have. You know what I mean? And like, it really comes down to like, to me, it really comes down to, I want to make Nipsey proud. That's important to me. Period. Personally and period. Like, that's how I feel.
Thank you so much, Sophie, Mike, Keith. I know that we have a few more questions, but we've run out of time. Unbelievable.
We already ran out of time?
I know. Yeah, I mean, I'm getting this.
Get off the stage.
But thank you so much for being so honest as well about what makes you flow, what's important to you, what you stand for. I think it's given us a lot of food for thought. And yeah, thank you so much for being here in Valencia with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.